I've got three complimentary plays coming up for this Sunday card. On the late afternoon slate, the game between the Chargers and the Patriots. On the early card, the games between the Bills, Dolphins, and the Rams and the Texans. Listen, over the years, you can come up with some miraculous late game covers, and you'll have some backdoor beats. Now, you always remember the backdoor beats more than the late game miraculous covers. But having done this for so many years, 20 years since I created the sites, having gambled long before I created these internet sites, I can tell you with 100% certainty that I have won more games in miraculous fashion than I have lost. But basic human nature dictates that you always remember the more painful losses. That's just the way it goes. Yesterday was one of those painful losses. I happened to have a raise the bar 20-dime release on Maryland. Now, Maryland, I had them at 3.5 points against Indiana. I'm sure this was not destination programming for most of you out there, unless you happen to be like me and had my pick on Maryland. But Maryland was up. We had a double-digit lead. There was a minute and 20 seconds to go in that game, and Indiana has the ball. And they have it, I think, with a minute to 20 to go on their 25-yard line. Indiana's freshman quarterback drops back, incomplete pass, and I'm feeling good. And then the roughing the passer call is made. So Indiana gets second life, and next play, 52-yard completion by the Indiana quarterback. Now suddenly the Hoosiers have the ball on Maryland's 8-yard line, and you know what happens next. 8-yard touchdown pass. Hoosiers sneak in the back door, lose by 3. That touchdown pass coming with 1 minute to go. What are you supposed to do? Well, in my case, I haven't lost many games here in the past couple of weeks, so my profanity quotient for the month of October, I had a few choice words. I'm sorry for whatever words I used for most of your mothers out there. But I used them all up yesterday after finding out that score with the Terrapins. Hey, listen, the previous 2 weeks I started the NBA season going 7-1 with normal top-rated 15-dime plays. I certainly had the bankroll to afford that loss, but greed is good. Yes, greed is good, and damn it, I wanted to win that game. So, hey, I rebound today, and we make some more money. Listen, in terms of that quirky little stat that I always talk about in the NFL, where if you can simply pick the straight-up winner over the first 10 to 12 weeks of the season, you could make a fortune, because that straight-up winner generally covers at around an 85%, sometimes up to a 90% clip over the past dozen years or so since I first stumbled across that trend. Well, this year it got off to a little bit of a slow start, but it has certainly rebounded through 7 weeks of play. The straight-up winners have covered at an 81.1% clip. Yeah, 81%. Now, of course, the caveat is if you could simply pick the straight-up winners, if it was that easy, you, me, and all of us, we'd all be living on golf course homes out in Vegas. It just isn't that simple. But if you happen to be watching the video on the website, just simply scroll down and you'll see the complete breakdown and all the subsets. By the way, do you know the dog is 6-1 against the spread on Sunday night games with 6 straight covers? Did you know the over is 5-1-1 on Sunday night games? If you happen to be watching this video on YouTube or elsewhere, visit the site, DeMarcosports.com or aldemarco.com. I think you know how to spell my name at this point in time. And you'll get all the breakdowns too. Okay, let's get to your complimentary plays. The Chargers today, I think they're tremendously underpriced as a 4 to 4.5 point favorite at home against the New England Patriots. I understand why they are priced here, because it's a matter of perception and it's what you have seen last. And what I mean is, it's the impression that the Patriots made by beating up the Jets last week, 54-13. Oh my God, yeah, they beat the Jets 54-13. Anybody could beat the Jets 54-13. That's how bad the Jets were. And then, of course, the week prior, the Patriots played so well in taking the Dallas Cowboys into overtime before losing that game 35-29. But let's remember, this is the same Patriots team that was lucky to escape with a 25-22 win against the Houston Texans just a couple of weeks earlier. I look at the Chargers this way. They're coming off a bye, and before that, they got walloped at Baltimore 34-6. That's the perception and the reality that everybody has about Los Angeles, the Chargers. But let's remember this. Before getting crushed by Baltimore, this is a team that got into a slugfest and outscored Cleveland at home 47-42. The week before, took care of business at home against the Raiders and doubled up Las Vegas 28-14. And the week before that, went to Kansas City and took care of business against the Chiefs 30-24 en route to a 4-1 start on the season. That's the Chargers team I expect to see today coming off the bye. And that Patriots team that beat the Jets last week, big deal. Again, the Jets suck. That's reality. So I'm more than willing to lay the 4.5 points. I'm buying down the half point on the Chargers. And I think the Chargers roll here with ease because I still think New England is nothing better than a team that'll be lucky to finish 500 this season. Now, on the early card, you have another team coming off a bye, and that is Buffalo. Last time we saw the Bills, they were falling short by that yard, deep in Tennessee territory, knocking on the end zone door and falling on that Monday night game in Tennessee and losing. Well, now we have the Bills coming off a bye, where they have just been stellar during Sean McDermott's tenure. And they're taking on one of their favorite teams during Sean McDermott's tenure, and that's the Miami Dolphins. They are 8-1 since McDermott took over Buffalo, facing Miami. Last two games, they've won 91-26. You remember in week number 2, they went to Miami and won 35-0. They've won 6 straight against the Dolphins with an average margin of victory of 20 points. Matter of fact, in that week 2 win, that was probably the Bills' best defensive performance of the season, especially by the defensive line, because they came up with 6 sacks in that game, which speaks volumes to how well Buffalo's defensive line played and how poorly Miami's offensive line played, because since then, Buffalo's defense has only had 5 sacks in its 4 subsequent games. Buffalo is 4-0 straight up off a bye the past 4 seasons. They won that game 35-0, even though Josh Allen, who has, I think, 19 career touchdown passes against Miami, including 12 in his last 3 games. In the first go-round this year, he was just 17 for 33 for 179 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. I think Buffalo rebounds from the loss to Tennessee coming off the bye and takes care of business and smacks around Miami today. I'm not worried about laying the 14 points. The other game, the Rams are a 16.5 point favorite today at Houston. I can live with that. I mean, listen, I didn't think Arizona was too much of a problem last week, laying, remember, 20 points, a game in which Arizona opened at 16 and that line zoomed up to 20. Well, the Rams are 16.5. Now, it is true that the Rams do host the Titans next week, but I just look at this Texans offense with Davis Mills at quarterback. They have produced in his 5 starts 9 points, 0 points, 22 points, that was the game against the Patriots, 3 points, and 5 points. Not exactly an offensive juggernaut. We know what Matthew Stafford and the Rams can do when they put their minds to it. And considering that last week against Detroit, it took them nearly 3 quarters to really get that offense moving, I think we'll see a more focused offensive effort by the Rams today. So your 3 complementary plays, and in the order that I like them, I really love the Chargers. It's my second favorite play on the board today. Okay? And I mean, my best bet is on the 1 o'clock card, but this would have been my second play today if I had played a second one. Then followed by Buffalo and then the Rams. So that'll do it. Wish you well and talk to you again soon.